friends and a sister who got it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Picking up, it seems.
Yeah. With my new vaccination.
Would you? Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to wait
It
1
still
week.
kicks me.
Does it?
Yeah, it wasn't as bad, just dull, just makes you, just like
Yeah.
a big cloud in front of
Tired.
your face for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I mean, no pain.
All right, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Looks like we have good attendance in the room and online. I guess welcome to everybody, and our first order of business is to look at the past meeting minutes. I wasn't here for the past meeting, but I would take a motion to approve those minutes. If there's any corrections.
I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Len.
Second.
Seconded by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Yeah.
For the record, just maybe we said it's proposed, because I think we tabled approval of the minutes last time. I
Oh,
can't
that's
remember
right.
why.
Yes, we did.
Oh, because it shows in the minutes that they were approved.
We did?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Oh,
shows
on
in
the
these,
ori-
in these
sorry.
minutes, it shows that they were approved.
Okay, on the original agenda, it said tabled, so I
No,
don't
it's definitely
remember what
approved.
that was just a cryptic note.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good. Thank you.
No, I think we're good, but it was helpful to have those other meeting minutes as well, just to give us a little background on
Mhm.
how we've been doing over the last several months or so. And there's been a lot going on, of course, with the detailed design and activities around trying to find funding. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started with Joe telling us a little bit about the status for detailed design at this point.
Yeah, we've had a number of meetings that included hydrology, geology, archaeology, paleontology, and upcoming we have more of an organismal meeting. Tom, we didn't reschedule that. We will go ahead and run with it, but what I'm planning to do, and I just spoke with John Ross about this yesterday, I really want to have a separate even without the exhibit design firm, I would like to have a separate meeting specifically on fish. I think it's going to be such a huge, important local tie, and there's so much expertise and information on it that I think we need to give that its full attention. So when you return from the Galapagos, we'll go ahead and schedule that. And I will be inviting you, obviously, Len, Irby, John, Eric Hallerman, Smells fine, and potentially Hayden Bassett as well with his particular interest. So if there are others who want to participate, I think it would be a productive meeting. So that's what we're going to continue as far as where the I mean, this leads a little bit to the next bullet point, but as far as when we're going to receive the rest of the cash to continue the detailed design, we're still up in the air. No other project that got partial funding, which was all of them, has had the coffers refilled to the full extent yet. So we're not alone. That's about all we know. Budget analyst isn't letting on anymore.
Even though they've approved now the state budget, right?
Yes, we just haven't heard anything.
And the funding is in this approved state budget.
The full funding, the 1.14 million, was from the last
Previous.
biennial budget. And so we're just waiting on, I hate to put it this way, I don't know how to phrase it, but the money we're owed. Right,
Right,
it says in the
right,
legislation, we're supposed to spend that amount of money.
Right.
We just don't have that money. So, yeah, we don't have it in hand. Now, that said, there's still more budget wheelings and dealings going on. So now that they've approved the current fiscal year's budget and they're moving into season where they're going to approve the next biennial budget in the next General Assembly session, there, of course, now is the time for what we call budget adjustments. So we did work with the Secretary's office, has nothing to do with VMNH Waynesboro, right? But they had some areas within museum operations that they wanted to adjust upcoming. I just think there's so many moving parts that I'm not sure when they get to, you know, kind of backfilling projects that weren't fully funded.
Where does that sit though? Is it in TGS or is it in?
I think it's in DPB, because I think what happens, I mean, I'm just guessing here, but just from our perch, it seems like that they spend money, they kind of borrow from the future until they make it back, and then they fund some portions of government operation and others like ours, which aren't, what am I trying to say? Like, they're not necessary for the day to day. And so they wait till they have the funds to kind of backfill what they hadn't finished funding. That's what it looks like from our approach, but I can't say for sure.
So Joe, you're saying you feel like it's a cash flow issue? Like the cash,
The only thing,
yeah, they're waiting for
from our
tax
limited
revenues?
viewpoint, yeah, from our viewpoint, that's what it looks like, right? Because they fill the coffers for some things and not others.
Huh.
So I don't have any other real explanation. Our budget analyst, who's always been straight with us, they said, don't worry, they're gonna get to you, right? So,
That's not comforting.
So we're taking this from the government officials, right? We're believing
Yeah,
it.
right.
right. Well, these are the career officials, not.
These are
Yeah,
the
they-
civil servants.
Yes,
right?
they've been around the block and have seen it all come and go. So I wish I could be more definitive, but we've turned over every rock we can.
So the design team is aware of all this, I assume.
Yeah,
So does that mean that money that come through in a timely way, they just stop work?
we actually requested that when we got to the end of phase one of detailed design, which is schematics, that since we could not guarantee paying for the full services, we did not want to put ourselves in a position of owing somebody money we don't have. So, and we put that in the budget that we would not proceed, we've seen enough, right? We knew we had to put a clause into the contract that said, at the end of schematics, we would not move to preliminaries without explicit permission from the museum. And I'm glad to put that in there, because we just don't have cash.
But we have what we need to support these upcoming meetings.
Again, speaking about going around the block, Rick's Ward has been around the block with government projects, and they recognize how it is. So this was their initiative, outside of the contract, to say, I just want to continue to have discussions to keep momentum.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not paying for these. Well, they might send us a bill after the fact.
Yeah,
You
in
know,
arrears or whatever. they'll
yeah,
send the bill.
Yeah, but we're not receiving invoices.
But we're running up a bill, basically, a balance, I would imagine.
Unofficially, sure. We've never given them permission to move forward. When we get full funding, we move forward, I would be glad to pay for those hours after, because we're gonna do this anyway, right? Just to be a good partner. So we wouldn't fight that, but at the same time too, I think they've been around the block and have seen this enough that they understand that it's important to keep things rolling.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. As you said, it kind of bled over into our next agenda item, unless there's other questions about the detailed design. That has to do with the funding update. So I guess we're now talking about the status of the current fiscal year budget, right?
Yeah, that was just an
Detailed design
update, we've already covered the detailed design dollars. But the current budget is fine, right? So the museum's solid, there's not any problems that's gonna interfere with any of this work. So we're now, of course, keep an eye out on what the governor's budget looks like for the release in December.
Yes.
And that
That'll be the next biennial.
yes.
Right, yeah.
So that's what the General Assembly will discuss and wrangle over in January, February.
It's a long one.
So
45 days or something.
Yeah. So and again, that leads into the next bullet of number 5.
Yeah, so I guess I'm listed for that one. This is just about the September 7th meetings that we held down in Richmond.
Yes.
And I guess those were after our last meeting with the.
Right after.
Yeah, right after it. So, but you guys had talked a little bit about what was going to be discussed and who was going to be presenting. Greg and I and Joe were there, and Jonathan were there. We thought it went well, I think collectively, and we had an opportunity to get down into the details of what the Chimera study tells us and why we think this is a strong project for economic reasons and for educational reasons. I thought we had a pretty good audience, although the governor didn't make it into the room. He seemed to be busy, I think, with what was going on right then, which is they were working on the current budget and passing the current budget. So he got pulled away, although he had hoped to come.
Did you have a representative there?
Yes, his legislative assistant was there. a number of deputy secretaries,
Mhm.
of education, a couple of financial or fiscal guys.
Deputy Secretary of Finance and a special counsel to the Secretary of Finance.
And representing Waynesboro, in addition to Greg, was the mayor, Mayor Williams, and Mike Ham, city manager. And then we had Delegate Campbell there with her assistant, legislative assistant, so that was really helpful. She seems extremely supportive of the project, and I think it was her that really got us into the room, wasn't
Tell me
it?
what district she is.
Well, the districts have changed,
I
right?
know they haven't.
So
that's
now
what-
she will represent Waynesboro if she gets re-elected. She got appointed to the
Gotcha.
remainder of her husband's term, right?
Right.
So you know that story.
So does she represent Stanton as well? I agree.
I
Yes.
think, and good part of Augusta County,
No part of Augusta.
no part of Augusta County, just kind of comes up and there's a bump of
Pick the two
Waynesboro and there's a
cities.
bump of,
It's like Mickey Mouse.
yeah, yeah,
Bizarre.
it
I did
is.
not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I hadn't met her before, but she was extremely enthusiastic and supportive of this project, and we learned there that she's moving to Waynesboro, so
Whoa.
even better. And she had, I guess, yeah, she told us a little history of her relationship with her husband and how they met and how she had already kind of bought a house down here before she was to Lexington with him. And
Wow.
so she has some history. She graduated from Fort Defiance. Was it?
What's
think
your,
that's correct.
what's your maiden name?
Hmm.
Oh, boy.
That's fine.
No, no.
That's in pop. I should find, I'm a fourth alum. so-
Okay.
Which is, I'm a lot younger, I assume.
I don't know.
Question, Tom. You're-
Yeah, I do not. That's a loaded question. I'm sorry. You look so young.
The right answer is yes.
No, I thought you were saying Ellen young.
Oh, I thought you did it around, sorry.
Anything, Greg, that you wanted to add about that meeting?
No, I think just, went really, really well. I do think the finance people got it. We've met with the one gentleman before, when we met with the Secretary of Finance once upon a time.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And, I do think that like, I think I got it.
Yeah. You seem to have an aha moment there, just about.
And the guy who's the special counsel for the Secretary of Finance. His name, he actually, surprisingly, he comes to a lot of what they call the MMR meetings, monthly management report meetings. And so that's 2 meetings a month that they hold, well, theoretically every month, it doesn't seem to happen, but. There's never been an administration to do this that actually sits down and talks about our operation, but they don't do all the museums at once, they break them into 2 groups. So it's usually us, Science Museum of Virginia, Library of Virginia. I can't remember. I think that's it. But yeah, he's usually there asking questions, and we always report on Waynesboro, so he's been fed info kind of regularly.
We focused on we were assuming that they buy the project.
Right.
So we focused on do this now.
Mhm.
Costs are going up, they've gone up from 7 to 30 or whatever the numbers are, and just take advantage of the atmosphere today. So,
Yeah, I think that's smart. I'm not a betting man, so I wouldn't, ante up any cash against what I'm about to say. But it just from what I've seen the state do over time, right, in terms of funding projects, and they're even doing it on a small level with our current budget adjustment, is I would not be surprised if they put VMNH Waynesboro into the construction pool with no funding allocated, so you have it in black and white as a placeholder. What does that mean? It means you don't get the money tomorrow, you get it this year, right? But I think that perspective of going after the let's get it done now is probably what would put it over the top if they put it in there. So I'll be very surprised if they put us in for 33 million, which is what EGS is now calculated, right? So it would not surprise me if at some point in the new budget that they put us in black and white with no dollars, but that's advantageous. It's a step, right? If we get them both, the black and white and the money, that of course would be fantastic.
I thought that one of the things that Hanger did already.
Yes.
Okay, so it's in there with 0. listed separate than zero.
It allows them to more easily fund a project if it's something they don't think is, what am I trying to say, imminent, you know? So, it's-
And in preparing for this meeting, I did spend a lot of time with that updated Chimera study, and I went back and forth with Len a little bit because I know there was a conversation about return on investment and how we can possibly say what the benefits are economically on this. So $33.2 million, as Joe said, is the recommended target based upon industry standards for construction from DEP. It's estimated that the construction impact on the economy cumulative would be $47.5 million. And that includes not just the direct spending, but indirect and induced spending. And it would generate about 264 jobs in the Waynesboro region. After the construction piece, the sustained economic impact is $4.2 million per year and 36 jobs. And that's once again cumulative, so that accounts for both direct, indirect, and induced. So those are some numbers. You know, if you can carry a couple of numbers around in your head,
Yeah.
if you're having conversations with folks, those are helpful to have.
If you just looked at the 4.2 and only use that, not including construction, right? And you do a $33 million project, you're talking approximately a 7-year, 8-year return.
Yeah.
On investment. So the Commonwealth pumps 33 million into a project and then some, because we have foundation in the city, other funds going into it. But, you know, within 8 years, the state of Virginia will see that money paid back essentially.
And if you, I'm not an economist, so I don't want to defend these numbers necessarily, but if you just consider a 30-year period and you use inflation rates of 4%, the return on investment is something like 2.4%, and that's based upon the recommended target cost of $33 million. And that's just on the direct impacts. That doesn't actually include the cumulative impacts. If you go to cumulative, then it gets closer to 6% annualized over the 30-year period. But
Is that
that's
something you wrote up?
I wrote up a summary for myself, and I'm happy to share this with
That would
anybody.
be really lovely.
That
Yeah,
would be
great, yeah.
useful for the library.
Uh-huh, yeah,
Visits.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, I can share this.
Great.
As an addendum to our minutes, so I'll send it to Mary Zell.
You know, I think what's really significant about what you just said, Tom, is that we were able to come in there with these hard numbers and define, you know, the fact that there is a return on investment here, as opposed to a traditional government type project that it's really kind of sunk cost generally. But those numbers, 2.4% and 6% are not bad return on investments, and a 7-year payback is actually pretty good on even a commercial project. So, you know, I feel like we're in a strong position.
Yeah. And those are still with those conservative estimates on visitors, the 65,000
Yeah.
that we used from the original Chimera study. We didn't adjust that in any way. But obviously, there's been some population growth here.
I think it's smart to keep it.
Yeah, we definitely go conservative and use those numbers, but I think, you know, we all recognize that it could be different.
Does anyone know, I know I asked this once, well, what the visitation of Blue Ridge Tunnel is?
Well, since you happen to ask that question, I actually have those numbers and I've grabbed them. So the first year was a pretty good bump. I think it's 120,
105,
105, and then it got down to like
65, 75, or 70 to 80,000.
yeah, now projected for this year is about 80,000. So, you know, right about 80,000, let's say. Obviously
And
that
that's
is
just.
Hey, how do they estimate that? Because there's no sign on there. I was just up there the other day.
right.
Midweek, there were probably 15 boats. in addition to us.
Yeah, I don't know. They do have some sort of a counter method.
They do?
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
do have a counter? Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's go up there and try. it.
That's what I was told, yeah.
No, they have a counter there. I actually know where it's at. And I talked
Oh,
to
really? So
the
there-
Nelson County guy that put it up there.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's-
That's-
yeah.
that's-
Well, that,
Yeah.
that just, I think that just underscores what we've been saying all along, you know, that there's so many more assets coming into play. When we first started talking about this, there weren't the number of wineries. I
Right.
don't think there were breweries.
No, there wasn't any.
Right, there weren't the restaurants.
No.
Here, at all, and so forth, and then, of course, the Greenway and, South River Preserve. And when we first started, of course, there was a big hole in the back of Wayne Theater. You know,
Right.
So I think we're in pretty good shape. I think, you know, there's no reason to think that there's gonna be any underperformance.
Well, and for those that are on the board, I, encourage you to reach out to your legislators and share this stuff with them because I think it's gonna be helpful. I'm gonna meet with Delegate Runyon later this week. And I've already had conversations with Senator Hanger, although obviously he is retiring. But he'll be there through January, and so he's still there to help us.
Good.
And he's,
Yeah.
one thing he brought up, I don't know if this is the right place to bring it up or an open discussion, but I'll bring it up here since it came to mind is. There is a exhibit trailer that the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts has. And I guess they're getting a new one is what I understand.
Mhm.
And Senator Hanger is proposing that it be surplus or transferred to the Virginia Museum of Natural History. So that we have some sort of a placeholder, even while construction is going on, we can have that trailer down here, we can have exhibits in it. And I think that's just a fantastic idea. So,
Yeah, we've got some ideas. So, for one, we'll have to work with the city because it requires power, right? Not a lot, but it requires some. We have some simple but effective exhibit ideas, stuff that can be taken down and created very easily if the trailer needs to be moved and then reinserted. Do you think that would fit in there?
It would fit in there, but nothing else would fit. in there.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, then we'll save Matt for a different discussion.
yeah.
But anyway, so we have a few ideas that we can, because really, the Arcmobile, I think that's what they would call it. It was a pretty simple experience. It was quality, one way, there's a set of steps going in, a set of steps going out. It wasn't loaded with art, but it was effective. And, so I know they moved that thing around, but we can have it here for Fall Foliage Fest, River Fest. You could have, the Friday open hours, public hours here if you wanted to do that. We just have to work out something where we get billed a fair amount, for whatever utility usage.
In fact, I think it was here for Fall Foliage Festival last year. Right there in that
There
parking
was
lot.
something here.
Yeah, I think that was the trailer, because I walked through it
Well,
and
that's right.
they had an exhibitor in there or an interpreter in there and they had, several pieces of art. It was very nicely laid out and
We'll have to make keys
Comfortable.
and then spread it out amongst the people who can, either come up and supervise it, or people who live here who wouldn't mind spending an hour or two whenever we have the appropriate time to open it up.
and the Fall Foliage Festival is like in 2 weekends or something, right?
14th.
I don't know whether they're planning to come back, but if anybody, comes down to the lot here, you might actually see that trailer.
So a question about the previous conversation. So have we heard anything new since your meeting? Anything at all? Any input from anybody about the conversation?
There have been no questions, no follow-up or anything, but frankly said it. Again, I'd like to compliment this administration for all they're doing to remain connected with us, and I'm assuming other agencies. They've done so much more than others have. But all that said, even just us trying to get, we were supposed to submit our budget adjustments on Friday, and we were waiting around at 5:30, and we hadn't heard yet, right? Because we had this laundry list of things, and we needed to know the ones that the secretary could get behind, and we didn't find out till like 5:45. So it just seems like everything's just like walking through wet cement. So
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me, Len. I would have loved it if someone, called up and said, hey, we just think this is great, but I don't think we're gonna get that.
Yeah. Do we know anything about the capital projects that are slated for next year to be funded in terms of total value and where the priorities are? Do we have any feel for that?
No, well, all I know generally, I don't know values offhand, Len, but again, you know, everybody who is in detailed design got partial funding.
Hmm.
Like us, and everyone's waiting. Right,
Yeah.
so I do believe that there are some projects that are brand new that also got funding for just starting now detailed design.
Okay. So then the last question then would be, previously back in June, the governor had put the moratorium on building new buildings, basically challenging all the department heads to come back with ways to consolidate. Anything new on that front? I mean, is there a sense that given your meeting that maybe for this particular project, he might, be willing to take an exception? Or is he going to be hard and fast on it?
No, I don't have any feel on that. You know, we tried to make that point clear that this wasn't building an office building. You know,
Right.
it was programmatic, revenue generating and so forth. So, but no, and I don't think we're gonna get any either. I think that would, frankly said, I think that would be chancy for someone, to turn around and say that, like, I'm actually considering your project because, it's not an office
Mhm.
building,
Right.
you know what I mean? So.
Open up the floodgates.
So it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it's kind of radio silence. I don't think we're gonna hear anything until December.
December 15th, yeah.
Yeah.
December 15 is that when the governor submits his budget?
That's when he releases it
Releases
publicly.
yes.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wait.
Well, it was mid-December last time, but I don't know. Is it earlier? Maybe they moved it. But I could be wrong. Yeah.
Well, he has pushed up. Well, even that, if Tom's remember he's 100% spot on. This administration for this year has pushed things up. I just think in response to some of the slowness. Yeah. So they've actually had, Jonathan keeps getting dates for submission of information to the fiscal office that are weeks ahead of what he did the previous year. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we're seeing.
All right, keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other questions on the results of our September meeting?
I'll just say that I've talked to a number of people in the community. These are people I don't know well. I just see them at events or lectures or whatever. And a number of them come up to me and they're like, hey, I reached out to my delegate, I reached out to Delegate Campbell, I reached out to, whoever. So I think people are kind of taking the call to action seriously. So I think we still need to push that. So we have a lecture in what day?
Yeah.
26th or 25th? 26th,
No,
right?
it's the science lectures before that.
It's like the
Oh, the
17th.
science lecture, right? That's
Yeah.
next week. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Week
Ariana-
after next. Yeah.
Ariana Kuhn's gonna come up here and talk about her salamander work and
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be there too.
yeah. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to do the introduction because I won't be around.
Yeah. I'm playing. We already talked briefly about it. So
Okay.
I think we're traveling up together.
Okay, good.
Unless there's something that
Yeah,
happened up there
and-
already.
And I know that Jenna Kunizer and Max Quillen will be arranging for dinner,
That's the 17th,
whatever that Tuesday is. Is that a
third Tuesday,
Tuesday?
it's the third Tuesday.
Yes, October 17th.
Yeah, I will be here. I'll commit to it. I have to be up in Charlottesville for the newcomers luncheon there
Uh-huh.
on Monday. So instead of driving back and forth, I may be here for a couple of days. So I'll get together with Ariana and bring her over to dinner and to the theater.
Nice.
So Joe, I think what I'll try to do is get that Joe and Greg, that Steve Landis meeting for that day, that Tuesday sometime.
Oh, if we could do that, that'd be great. I'll be here
Yeah.
anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
And the last talk that we had, that Hawk Watch talk that kicked off our series for the year was well attended. And we had like 75 or something like that, people in person, and then we had a couple hundred views online in real time. And I haven't looked at what's happened since, but obviously that's a pretty good turnout. And actually, it motivated me to go to the Hawk Watch, and that is amazing, actually. Yeah,
Was
it
it
really is. I was up there and there were, I think that day they counted over 8,000 birds that moved through.
Wow.
And that's hundreds of broadwing hawks.
I was gonna say the Broadway.
Yeah, the
this time of
Broadway.
year, just
Unbelievable. Bald eagles.
huge volume.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And I thought he did a really nice job.
Who was the speaker?
Vic, Laubach, Vic, he's the president of the Augusta Bird Club, or
He's
maybe
probably,
vice president.
he's probably,
Remember.
he's probably been president like 100 times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he's very committed.
Yeah, and he is in charge of the Hawk Watch. And the timing was just perfect for it. And then after Ariana, this month, we have Matt Heller to talk about geology. And the geology of the area and its impact on humans and development, I think, or something like that is the theme. I know he's done a lot with a digital mapping project that the Department of Energy has taken on. And so I think he's going to highlight some of that work. And of course, he's been really helpful with some of the conversations we've had early on about geology exhibits in the branch campus. So I think he'll be a good speaker. We'll take December off. And then we're looking at our speakers for beginning next year. We don't have them all nailed down, but we have some ideas and invitations out. The Fall Foliage Festival, I guess we already talked about that. You guys gonna have a table there?
Very seldom.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have 4 members from the team at VMNH working the event. We'll have some kid-friendly and family-friendly interactives. We will also bring up some collections items, as well as having Waynesboro promotional materials about the building project here.
Very cool.
I won't be here. It's Callie's birthday and I know that she will punish me more than.
Well, I participated last year. I won't be there this year, but I was really impressed how many people came up and said that they had heard about it. You know, that it wasn't like we've had in the past where, what are you guys talking about? Never heard of this. So I thought that was a good sign.
We'll make, some of all the team members are consistently briefed on VMNH Waynesboro, but we'll make sure they get a thorough review, so everyone's got the same verbiage.
The Waynesboro Public Library, I revamped the slides a little bit for September's session. Included a lot of our exhibit design ideas and put that in there a little bit more heavily than just the building, since the building will kind of get that set. And one person showed up.
Oh,
But that's all right. And she knows about us already, so it was nice to catch up with her.
how are we getting word out on that?
Social media largely.
Yeah, in the library. It was-
The library posted on their site, the museum does. It is what it is, you know, it's just an opportunity to make sure people have at least seen some of the drawings. We've got them on display around the dinosaur there already, so maybe some of those placards could be updated with
Okay.
exhibit design. In addition to what we have for the building layout.
At a minimum, when I come up here, I'm up here for a couple of days, I'll take a look at them and I'll, 'cause I'm sure everyone who's prepared them forgot what we actually have up here too. So I'll take pictures of them and send them.
They're old, they're the
Yeah.
old versions of the floor layout.
Okay.
Stuff like that, so they could be refreshed. And then Faye and Len are gonna handle the next couple months. Len, you're all set?
I am set.
Okay. And then Faye is
For November.
November.
Yep.
Awesome. Charlottesville newcomer?
Yeah, that's,
Oh, that's what you said you're coming up for on Monday before the
yeah, this
science
is
talk, right?
another Charlottesville connections to the Newcomers Club.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's pretty well attended. It's not a small deal. So,
Where's that held? Somewhere over in Charlottesville.
yeah, it's in the city.
The newcomers as in residents or businesses or?
It is,
Uh,
it is hosted at the Ivy Creek Nature Area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's it.
the lecture part of the program, usually runs 30 to 40 minutes, followed by lunch. It's Carol Cruiser Greenberg.
Always take advantage of an opportunity to get the word out.
And related, we have Chamber of Commerce presentation. I'll have to look at my calendar when that date is. And the same thing with the Daughters of the American Revolution. Len and I presented to them, what, 2019 maybe?
Something like that, pre-COVID, maybe 2018, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the Stanton Augusta Waynesboro chamber? or-
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty well attended. There was, I mean, the room was full when we were there.
He's still talking about DAR.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So, we did that in the library, right?
Yeah, it was downstairs in that meeting room where the stage is. Yeah,
And then the Stanton Augusta Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
It's on the calendar.
okay.
it's definitely a target. You know, it's an influential group of impactful ladies, really. I mean, it's a good group to be in front of.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of additional community connections that I wanted to make people aware of. One, and I think I mentioned this maybe at a previous meeting. The South River Watershed Coalition is a new organization. It's a revamped organization of the South River Science Team. And it's supported by DuPont. And its goal is to move away from just talking about mercury in the watershed and talk more broadly about watershed issues. And they want to focus on education. And one of the things that they want to do is involve themselves in, the exhibit design for the museum and help with that. So they have an office here in town, and they've offered that space should we ever need it for meetings. They've also put on the windows of that office our museum emblem. So it's up there. And I would invite anyone who wants to come after this meeting. I can walk you over there and you can look at the space. So you have a sense of what's there. It was used it continues to be used as kind of a field team site for storage of equipment and shipping samples. They continue to do a lot of monitoring on the river, but they want it to be more than that. So wanted to make you aware of that. I'm actually serving on the board of that organization, trying to get our mission figured out exactly, but we do have some funds, which is always helpful. So secondly, just if you aren't from town, you may not have noticed that they started on the South River Preserve. So they've been taking up the parking lot, the former DuPont parking lot, and shipping off all that old pavement. And hopefully that then is going to be followed by them establishing a more natural soil there and ultimately planting the trees and greenery. It's a $2-something million project. And I'm not sure how long they're going to take to complete it, but it will significantly improve the green space along the river. It'll redirect the greenway a little bit. And across the river, they will also be doing some work on Rockfish Run or Jones Hollow. They'll be doing some remeandering of the stream there in what was a baseball field. All of this is driven by some of the mercury settlement money that restore the ecology along the river. But it also benefits us because it's right adjacent to, where we're proposing to put the building. So I think there's a lot of synergy between this South River Preserve and our building design. Ultimately our landscaping. So those are a couple of things I want to add to our community connections. I guess that brings us to open discussion.
I'd like to thank Greg for his recent effort over the last month. We had a couple of things going related to us.
Couple more too. So
Okay.
on October 11th, we're going to go to city council and get the city council to reaffirm $1 million. And we'll follow up with a media release the next day. We'll try to get some additional proposals. Project.
So at that council meeting, will you be presenting anything?
I'm
Or
gonna
just
present, yeah,
you're going to present some of the updates?
some updates, the renderings, where we are.
Nice.
They will get we'll have this document as part of the agenda packet. So it'll be out for anyone who wants to get it. As well.
Okay. Anything else for open discussions?
We're going to sign. We're going to update.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we're making a new sign.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So the 4x8 sign, the future site sign, we're redoing a couple of the text points and the rendering. And then we have smaller versions of that same sign, one of which is in City Hall and one of which we keep here and others that we just wander around when we go places. So it's a 20 by 30 version of this.
Yeah, I noticed they've revamped the kiosks too on the Greenway. So it might be an opportunity to put some of those into those kiosks on it.
Yes. we can add it.
Yeah.
How about that? We can add that.
Greg, are you planning a press conference, press release, anything like that to announce the new sign? I think it's a good opportunity to reestablish or to re-communicate to the community that the project's ongoing. And I think it's a positive message to say we've now reached this stage. This thing's still proceeding. You know, I know it's probably not going to get the kind of attention that it would have, but if we can somehow get some publicity out of it, I think it would help reinforce that this is a real project.
Yeah, we hadn't thought about doing that, which is why we thought about doing the media release after the $1 million commitment. Which will end up being on the where am I? 12th. So I had not thought about that. We've got overall, we had a couple media releases coming out, so I'm not sure where exactly we fit into that schedule.
All right.
But another way to do that.
But I mean, a picture of you and Joe standing at the sign, after it's up or something like that, that just says, another significant milestones met, that we've got this design now. And it's a beautiful, rendering too. It's impressive. So be a good chance to get some publicity.
That might be a way to do it. We just post it on social media and see the pictures of them.
Yeah, and send a press release around though as well with a photograph. I mean, the newspapers don't have any reporters anymore, so they'll print it if it's written properly.
He's already sent me a draft in advance, Len, so yeah.
Yeah.
Coordinate on that.
Nice.
Anything else?
I'm happy to take some input on this. When I heard that the Waynesboro Visitor Center on top of that, the mountain was being closed down, I was kind of concerned about the map because that 3D relief, everyone knows what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I was concerned because so often things like that just get warehoused and disappear, whatever. So I told the city we take care of it. So at a minimum, we're gonna bring a moving truck up here and move it to our Douglas Avenue kind of warehouse facility until we find an opportunity to use it. But is there opportunity? Do you think we should open up a dialogue with either Waynesboro Public Library or the Augusta County Public Library and put some interpretation with it? I don't know.
I'd love it. I think it whets appetites to say, click, connect.
I think we could do something simple,
Oh, yeah.
with some signs that they go, if we put it in the Augusta County Library, because I know you talked a year ago or more about, maybe we ought to do something with them. If we do have space and put it over, we could put the same kind of signs that we use over in the city library. And then I'm sure our exhibit team can come up with something clever to mark on the map where the new branch is gonna go, right? And then we'll have a separate panel on something very interesting about the Shenandoah Valley and the Blue Ridge and so forth, So does anyone have a preference? Should I give the city library writer first refusal?
We got a hard no on the city library. That was our first call. So.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Well, that makes that decision easy.
Because of space issues.
I think it's big. By the way. So,
Is it sitting in the Metal Crafters building still now?
no, it's sitting in a city facility somewhere.
Okay.
So
So
how big is this?
It is
I would,
8 foot by 16 feet.
Wow.
that is big.
That's a big-
So-
And it's gonna take 35 people to move it.
So it's wider than this and what? 4 or 6 feet longer than that?
Yeah, it's maybe about that wide, but it's definitely longer than that, right? It does not fit through a standard door. That's at least a double door, and that's even iffy because it is so wide.
All right.
How many people does it take to move it?
We moved with
35, you said. Yeah.
We moved it with a forklift to get it out of there. we moved it in to the building through the windows.
Yeah.
And we just had a bunch of people, we had a dump truck, so it was high enough, and then a bunch of people on the outside, a bunch of people on the inside, just.
Rethink this, Joe. I see you rethinking this trip.
Oh, no, it's okay. We've handled worse.
I can't think of a space where we could display that publicly,
Right.
unless you want to give up the gym at the Y.
Can we lift it? 'Cause I know where we're getting there, but it would have to.
Yeah, could you do that? I bet you could. I bet you could
We
put it
suspend
vertically. No, put it vertically, so the edge is on the floor.
Oh, to store it.
Stand it against the wall. or-
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
you
we
could
could
display it that way.
At a minimum, what I'm thinking is we put it in long-term storage Douglas Avenue, and when the new branch is built, we've got X number of square footage that's already paid for. You know, right, because we can do that, we can give it to Riggs Board and they can upgrade it, you know, in some way. I don't know what that
What
means.
exactly is on this?
It's a relief
It's-
map.
It's a map of the entire valley or.
Shows the highways, the river systems, the
And
mountains.
who produced it?
So. 1960-ish, so I don't know,
Wow.
the guy who did it
So it's an
came and
old-
refurbished it at one point.
wow.
I'm not even sure he's still around.
It didn't look bad before it was refurbished.
Yeah.
I didn't see it after, unfortunately. I haven't seen it yet, but, so it should be in good shape.
Yeah.
But you just don't see anything.
Lexington to,
Front world.
Front World.
Wow. That is good.
Valley.
But it really gives you perspective,
Oh, yeah.
showing you the height of the mountains, the length of the rivers, the meandering, course and so forth. You know, and it's completely different. You know, I mean, anyone can bring up a relief map on their phone anymore, or their tablet, right? I think kind of going back to kind of a throwback method, you're not gonna find, well, I think they still exist, but they're highly expensive to have relief maps created anymore. In fact, I know a guy who's 3D printing relief maps, like he specializes in, one of his services, he specializes in marathon courses. Or maybe not marathon, maybe 5Ks, 10Ks, I don't know, whatever. He showed me race courses where people race through the woods and they have these topographic maps that he's printing out. So, but to have something of this scale, you just don't see anymore. So I think it's a bit of a hard.
Rockbridge County. You're good that far south.
They said Lexington.
So I just wanted to include Natural Bridge. Because the state's part.
I don't know how far it's
I
out.
don't remember.
Okay. Huge space. But don't we have ones that are there still?
Well, not anymore.
We worked with them though.
Huh? We did, yeah, we did. Sorry if any of you happen to be watching online, but honestly, they weren't the best to work with. Yeah, so they actually, they went and did some more remodeling work, and I went and just snuck in. Paid my money to go see they didn't tell them who I was, and I went down there to look at the exhibit, and they moved out a bunch of stuff down in telling us.
Oh.
Yeah, and then, you know.
Forget it, they're not getting that.
Yeah, I understand that stuff is not their priority or their specialty, but you know, they could have.
Well, great. That's just, and I'm asking you this specifically, because I hate the thought of that map not being. this fall. Is there any other space? I mean, I'm sitting here scanning. Maybe. I don't know that there is, but any other space that we might use for access part?
We have not thought of it.
I will go back and check the one. I will crawl all through that.
No, we know we have, we don't, it makes no difference to us whether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about schools? I mean, schools.
Possibly. That's what I was thinking.
If there's something we need to do too.
Yeah.
It's,
And care for it.
yes,
Our vision was to, money is no object, but you know, it's got a plexiglass top on it. But to put like the hockey arena plexiglass sides on it, so it opens up the top, and then if you had a high enough ceiling. You could project down onto it and then project anything you wanted. You could do Civil War battles, you could do winery trails, you could do whatever. I mean, that's a $20,000-$30,000 deal, but it's creates a new use for modern technology or a 1960-ish map, and would be kind of cool visitor experience.
Is this a partnership that perhaps Fishburne? We could talk to them about, I don't know what their space requirements are. It's been a long time since I've been there, a long time since I've talked to the building. Just a thought.
Greg, there's got to be a grant, a grant source somewhere that would fund something like that.
But we didn't explore it any further because the TIC, the ceilings weren't high enough to do any of this.
Yeah,
Plus, we didn't want to invest in a double wide.
maybe a partnership with the Heritage Museum or something.
Yeah, they have no space either. We covered
Everything.
all this at one time. Fishburne's got a huge field house, but there's no space in there either. There's not being used.
Inside the Wayne Theater, you can have one of the drop screens. Just do this.
Thought about that.
Yeah. How heavy? I mean, it's gotta be heavy, really.
Very heavy.
Yeah. What's it constructed out of?
So the frame is obviously the heavy part. So there's
Yeah.
3 pieces. The plexiglass top is 2 pieces, so that they're 8-foot square. But so they're heavy by itself. And then it's a solid wood frame around the map itself, sitting on a pretty solid wood base. Got storage in it. And one time it was electrified. If you open the storage thing in the bottom, there are wiring and switches that did something at one point. None of that works anymore, but so presumably the bulbs or stuff are still in. But I have no idea what it was, other than it's heavy.
Well, how about we just leave it at, it's, we have to move it anyway, right? So it makes no difference, we back the moving truck up and drive it down to Douglas Avenue, or we back the moving truck up and move it to Fishburne or whatever. So we would be happy to do that. All that said, I would like the long-term vision to be that it becomes, part of the campus, because actually, Greg, the more I think about it, the more I like the idea of including a projection system.
That's a really good idea.
And you marry the artifact, essentially, if you don't want to use the term, and kind of a modern approach to interpreting it. I think there's something to it, so. That
Yeah,
is,
you want to make it really expensive, you make holograms over it.
Yeah.
You've seen those on the
Why not?
modern museums,
all of this is expensive.
Yeah, you can have Hurricane Camille come in,
Right. Or actually, whether it's projector or hologram,
Yeah.
or even using augmented reality,
That'd be so
right?
cool.
It could even be a virtual reality.
Yeah,
So
is true.
there's technologies that we just aren't, I mean, we know how to use projectors real well because they've been with us for 20, 30 years now or whatever, but some of the newer methods that people are using, it's progressing pretty rapidly. So, but that's why you hire the professional, they'll come and they'll look at it and be like, we should apply this technology to get the most out of it. So, but that would be the long term. So if we put it somewhere for 2 years, 4 years, whatever the amount of time is, it's fine. We store it ourselves, it's fine. As long as we got a door big enough on the museum, right? We don't have to worry about
pretty
that.
important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I crunch on this, because I'll obsess on it.
Okay.
Who do I call when I come up with, I think, the right idea? You? Because I will obsess on this.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Okay,
Yeah, you can help me anytime.
And we want to go, if you think of a place, we can go look at it with your measuring tape and all that.
and how big did you say that was again?
Pretty sure it's 8 foot by 16 feet in that neighborhood.
Okay.
I have an exact someplace in some pictures.
That's okay, that's close enough.
that's a great opportunity. Joe, I think you're right on. You should lob onto that big time, because you could. I've seen in other locations, I'm thinking of the Hall of Presidents down at Disney World, for instance, which isn't quite like this, but in thinking what Greg was saying, I mean, you could tell the story of the natural history. You could tell the story of the industrial history. You could start with Carol Nash, her whole indigenous populations stretching all the way through the eons. I mean, you could choreograph some tremendous stories there, and display it in such a way that would be very impactful.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, there are so many options, and again, this is why you hire the experts, but even in the initial design work by Riggs Ward, they talk about some of that help me out here, the LCD dash something.
QLED.
Huh?
QLED?
The ones you see through.
Oh, no. Well, no. Yeah, it could be.
There's an extra initial associated
Yeah.
with it. But basically, it's a monitor that you put in front of an object so you can see
Yeah.
the object. But
Yeah.
it will play video. You get a talking head, show a map.
Yeah,
diagram
right.
map,
Yeah.
and so you could actually there's so many options that something like this I think would be an asset, because all we have to invest in
Yeah.
is the interpretation.
Yeah.
Of what the stories are that we tell, and if we do it right, it can be periodically updated the same way you do your website. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think you could choreograph 7, 8, 9 probably amazing stories, using that thing as the backdrop,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Folks, I gotta go. I've got another meeting, but
Yeah, we're right at time, so I think I'll go ahead and adjourn us. The only thing that I wanted to talk about, maybe we can put it on our next meeting agenda, is that we do have the board coming to Stanton in November. So it's an opportunity to, help them to understand this project. And
yes.
I will work with.
What's the date of that?
It is November 18th.
18th and 19th.
Okay, perfect. Good.
The board meeting is November 18th. However, the next meeting is currently scheduled for November 7th, which is a state holiday election day.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Oh,
Good point.
well, the rest of us have to work. I just thrown a barb out there, sorry. It should be a holiday, it really should.
I mean, I don't mind meeting, but I don't know how everybody else feels.
So where's? the-
I'll meet. It's not a problem for me.
What's your call?
Do it online.
Right. So, we can make this next meeting, November 7th, a virtual meeting.
Yeah,
And then people who can participate can participate.
yeah. Let's just do that. We'll make it a virtual meeting.
Sounds good.
So I am not making Mary Zoe work on holiday.
No.
So you might just have me in terms of running logistics, so the screen will catch fire and everything else. Of course. So
Yeah.
we can, but Len, I don't want to hold you up, but I was.
Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, good to see
We
you.
are
We'll talk
adjourned.
soon.
We
All
are,
right, take care. See y'all later. Thank you.
Right.
we are adjourned. Zach, I don't know if he's still there.